BSG have changed the neck hitbox, and today I'll be showing you what this actually means with a before and after using each different category of armor. But we first need to understand what's actually happened. In short, many players didn't like the way that the neck hitbox felt in game. Too often, you'd get one tapped by a single shot of some random ammo, especially from scavs, and the best you can protect it with is class 3. As originally part of the head hitbox, getting hit in the neck only gave you 35 HP leeway before you died, so what BSG have done is reassign the neck hitbox to the thorax's HP pool instead. This means that when a bullet connects with the neck, the damage now flows into the thorax's 85 HP, which, although serious, is much better than dying instantly. The biggest ramification of this is that even wearing no armor at all over the neck, as is the case with many of the plate carriers in the game, you now get a second chance because only a very small number of cartridges have the capacity to deal over 85 damage in one hit. Fundamentally, this change is very simple. Nothing has seemingly actually happened to the armor system, and the neck hitbox is still only protected by the soft armor for the neck specifically on armors. We don't suddenly have plate coverage over our neck or anything, and this means that it's still strictly worse than getting shot in the chest directly, which is usually covered by at least level 4 armor with probably class 2 soft armor behind. This updated system then gives us a kind of middle ground between getting instantly killed, but also not allowing us to protect the neck with class 4, 5 and 6 armor plates. The way to think about it now is the neck hitbox without any armor is like getting shot in the thorax without any armor. With class 2 neck, it's like getting shot in the thorax with a packer on, and class 3 neck is like being shot in the thorax with a Korakul on or another class 3 armor. Most player bullets will of course pen class 3, but now that the HP pool is 85, they will rarely kill you in a single shot. Do bear in mind though that they will probably deal a lot of damage to you, so a second shot might be enough to finish you off with blunt damage only, or even spill over from another limb. In terms of specific situations then, what is the difference now from before the change to after? Previously, if you were wearing no armor on your neck, you can basically be killed by any bullet in the game with over 35 damage, which is practically all of them except for APS-X, which is right on that threshold, and some other low damage bullets at range. After the hitbox change, still with no armor, you now need greater than 85 damage to take down the player, as we said. This counts for all shotgun slugs, many HP style bullets like 5.56 Warmageddon or 300 Whisper, and some of the low-end 54R and 336 TKM cartridges too. Even a buckshot like Magnum will still take 2 pellets to kill now. Of these others, scavs do have quite a few of them regularly, so to prevent dying to them, we do need to move up into at least class 2. This is present on armors like the Karasa, the Karund, the Press armor, and the 6B13. In the old system, every bullet with greater than 35 damage and greater than 30 pen would instantly kill you with a neck shot. Given that we're now wearing class 2 armor, any bullets in the 20 to 30 pen range will suffer some damage reduction, and so they require greater than 35 damage depending on how low their specific pen is. For example, 45 Match FMJ only has a pen of 25, but its damage is really high at 72. This passes through class 2 armor with 56 damage remaining, still plenty to kill a player in the old system when it was connected to the head, and in fact it would have to have had a starting damage as low as 45 before it would stop doing so. Damage reduction for ammunition that is roughly matched with the armor, like in this case 25 pen versus class 2, that gets reduced by approximately 20%. So after the neck changes, of course, Match FMJ only dealing 56 damage means that you will still live. 29 out of 85 on the chest is not a healthy way to be in EFT, but it's better than being dead. To guarantee a kill now through the class 2 neck armor, you now need a greater than 85 damage and more than 30 penetration as well, so as not to get the damage lowered. The list of bullets where this is the case is actually very small. There are in fact only 9, and outside of exotic cartridges like 338 AP, the most common are APM for 366, PS12B for the Ash-12, and AP20 slugs for 12 gauge shotguns. If we expand this list to everything over 20 pen, which is where you get a 50-50 chance to go through in the first place against class 2, this only adds another 10 cartridges for a total of 19. The most common one by far is SPBT for 54R that you sometimes find on scavs, but 50 BMG slugs are also pretty common on customs due to the quest setup. Even here though, despite dealing 92 damage, SPBT gets taken down below the 85 threshold to 77 because of the class 2 armor and the fact that it is only 27 pen. It penetrates over 90% of the time, but because the pen isn't over 30, it gets damage reduced under the 85 threshold. So of the common cartridges with under 30 pen, only the BMG slug will work. Moving up to class 3 neck protection, this increases the threshold even further. There are only 4 cartridges in the game that will one-shot this, again the 2 338 Lapua Magnum rounds, PS12B, and again APM. AP20 slugs will still do it as well, because with 37 pen they'll go through 90% of the time too, and they have well over the starting damage required to overcome the damage mitigation, because they start with 164 flesh, which really is a lot. Comparing this to the previous situation before the change, where even rounds as low as M855 would deal 40 damage to the head with a 92% chance of going through class 3, it's easy to see how this is going to dramatically reduce the instances of single taps to the neck, which is precisely what this change is designed to combat. So on that basis then, does this have an impact on which armors we should be choosing in our raids? Well, the current armor system in Tarkov has been stable for a little bit now after flip-flopping wildly around a year ago, resulting in a system where plates almost entirely cover the thorax hitbox. It's nigh on impossible to get a bullet through to hit the thorax without hitting an armor plate first. There is a tiny little spot from the front, but it's wildly inconsistent and only happens very, very occasionally. So practically speaking, let's say it's impossible. The only difference these days lies in how the soft armor coverage works. Plate carriers with soft armor, where the front and back plates are listed separately from the thorax and stomach hitboxes on the PMC in the list, such as the Gen 4 series, have soft armor across the front and back of the PMC, but not on the sides of the thorax specifically. Most of the time this doesn't matter, but they do only have, for example, a class 4 or class 5 plate on the sides of the thorax rather than 4+2 or 5+3 that you get at the front or back. The flip side of this is that they typically have neck protection. The other style, which is most common on armored rigs, is where they have soft armor that you can see listed on the actual armor, but what's on the hitbox only mentions front and back plates and nothing to do with thorax or stomach, i.e. the PMC hitboxes. This means that the soft armor follows the plates specifically, which consequently means that the soft armor follows the front plate underneath the arm. This can then give you 4+2 or 5+3 depending on what you've got in on the side of the thorax, which is not possible with an armor like the Gen 4 or the Courant, where they just have a plate on its own. This is present on armors like the Ars Armor CPC. So as you can see, it's still a trade-off between having neck protection or having soft armor underneath the plate on the sides of the thorax hitbox, as you can't have both. I have argued previously that I would rather be better protected against PMCs than scavs, because 5+3 is very effective against rounds in the 40 to 47 pen region, where most of the endgame PvP staple bullets sit: M855A1, M80, M62, 762BP, SP6, etc. The reason this combo is so effective against these bullets is because the pen gets reduced from somewhere in the 40s to somewhere in the 30s by the front plate, which then lets the class 3 layer do some reduction of its own behind, as it's the second line of defense behind the stronger armor plate. These days though, I'm not quite as sure. There are only a few situations where you'll get one shot anyway, so even without taking neck protection, you do usually get a second chance now, but you can easily get unlucky when facing some of the lower pen slugs and 3.66 rounds in particular against scavs. Early on in the wipe then, I think you're probably just better off taking the neck protection. Players aren't usually using crazy ammo, so regular armor should do just fine, and if not, then you're probably going to die anyway. But once more people get access to cartridges like M855A1, consider moving over to the armoured rigs and forgoing the neck to grab those which have soft armour on the sides of the thorax as well. I'll put up a reminder as to which ones these are. In Class 2, the MMAC is probably my all-round favourite, and in Class 3 it's the AACPC of course, but you can decide based on your requirements for space, weight, plates and accessibility. So as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.